This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome to the iRacing Formula 3.5 series here at wonderful Autodromo Enzo di Ferrari, or also known as Imola for us who can't speak Italian. Sorry, Marco. I'm Austin. I am joined by Dane Bird and Marco Bombernera in the commentary box. Marco's handling all those wonderful graphics that you see on screen right now. Dane, welcome back to the commentary booth.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. Looking forward to this race. It's probably not going to be the most exciting of races. Obviously, Formula cars have got a lot of downforce. It's not really too easy to overtake, especially not Imola. Not got too many overtaking opportunities across the track, but it should be a good one. No Tim Delisle this week, unfortunately. He's going to have to use his drop week here, but we'll see how the race goes.
Yeah, a lot of drivers are using this as their off week, as we were talking with them after the race. But here's the championship standings. Tim Delisle is still up at front with 1910 points, followed by Paul Ilberg, Greg Olson, Enro A. Samborski, Rob Bohr, Ronaldo Augusto, Rob Crouch, Steve Honan, Erica Lindstrom, Omar Baja, Christopher Herberto, I am Keyman, Lumbar Morick, Phil Reed, Cedric Bill, Alexei Sirotkin, Manu Domingo, and James J. Pinkster getting into the top 18. And speaking of Mr. Pinkster, I'm never going to trust him again because of what he has made me to believe of DRS. I've been made aware that DRS has been made no cooldown, and the only reason why I knew that was because James told me to, and he had it embargo with the rest of the crew to just never correct me on it. So thank you, James. In other news, we're here at Imola, and there are some new faces here on track. With the number of drivers that taken this week off, we're going to see some new faces around here. Carson Huth, as he comes across the line, that's a new name that we haven't seen in a while. And a few other drivers. Dane, what do you think?
Yeah, with a lot of drivers using this as their drop week, it's allowed some lower iRacing drivers that we wouldn't normally see in this top split. They're getting a show on the broadcast for the first time. It's going to be interesting for them to show themselves on such a big platform as the iRacing Sports Network. and it's going to be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah, it's definitely always nice to see some new faces. The strength of field, though, is still incredibly high. It's in the 4,000s, I believe, right now. So it's still one of those insanely high strength of fields that we see here. Yeah, straight at 4,000, right on the money. That is that is where I like to see it. But Imola, we were talking about this. You and I were actually in a practice session talking with a few drivers. That it is very competitive around here, but also very hard to pass. So qualifying is going to be needle perfect and where this race will be won. Also, the race into turn one. And if you just look at qualifying right now, the fight at top between Ilbrink and Borer is 4 thousandths of a second between them.
Yeah, it's incredibly close, and as you said, there's very few overtaking opportunities here. You probably got run down the straight into the first corner and possibly down into the last couple of corners there as well. But other than that, it's a very fast-flowing track, and there's not many places to overtake, so qualifying is going to be very important. Paul Ilbrink just snatching pole from Bohr by 4 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, it's insane. Separation in time right there. Also, this track is very bouncy with the car. Not as bouncy as we see on other tracks, but just avoid those curbs to keep the car seated on track, and you will be good here. Few drivers still making their laps. Omar Baja coming down the front straight. DRS is activated. Comes across the line, and he improves up to 10th place. They 128.9. Here's Benjamin J. Sissoko coming down the front straight as well. Believe he's just doing more laps for practice. Good on him for always trying to improve as much as he can. So yeah, all of his times have been set. We have one driver that did not set two drivers that didn't set 2 laps. So this will go a full another minute here at Imola before we head onto the grid. Ooh, big old slide in the hairpin right there. Dane, with this being the last 2 races of the season, if you're leading the championship, do you want to continue hitting all these championships and use the drop week, or and not use the drop week and just let the drop week hit your lowest one, or would you know that you're not good at this track and you just want to take this week off? Which would you do strategy wise?
I think it's always worth trying for the championship. You know, you might just gain a couple points and maybe not at the top of the championship as we see it. It's pretty much about a couple hundred points. But if it was closer than that, I'd definitely be taking these races just in case the slight possibility of me gaining a couple of points. And we've got the grid here for this race.
Yeah, Paul Ilbrink takes pole ahead of Rob Bohr. They're going to be racing off the line in the first row. They're followed by Greg Olson, I am Keeman, Edward A. Samborski, Christopher Herberto, Cedric Bill, Phil Reed, Renard Augusto, Omar Baja, Dian Ging, James J. Pinkster in 12th, Joshua Stewart, Jorge Esposito, Nicholas Radford, Shane Russell, Stephen Shatnell, Evan R.T. Emery, Thomas Knoll, John McCutcheon, Carson Huth, Jamie Byrne, Frederick J. Sissoko, and James Mallow at the end of the grid of this 24-car field here at Imola, and the entire gang's here on the front straight.
as we see the 5 red lights come on, and it's lights out, and Paul Ilbrink gets a fantastic start. Rob Bohr is dropping back down the field. He's had a really bad start. Greg Olson moves up into second position, and Paul Ilbrink keeps the lead into turn number 1. Greg Olson behind him. I am Keenan in third, as we see them going too wide down the back of the field. Still battling down at the back of the field. Everyone seems to have got through pretty cleanly here. I am Keenan making up a place. Greg Olson making up a place. Rob Bohr down in 7th, losing 5 positions there. Oh, and we've got a massive impact here. Ronaldo Augusto, and it looks like Rob Bohr as well. And that's an absolutely dreadful start there for Rob Bohr. He's gone from 2nd on the grid to dead last there, and Rob Bohr has just escaped back to pit lane. As we see now, Greg Olson's made a move on Paul Ilbrink. I think Ilbrink might have made a mistake there. It's not normally an overtaking opportunity. And it looks like he's got to slow down from running wide there as well. So I am Keenan moves up into 2nd place, and Paul Ilbrink is down in 4th. It's very interesting start here. We've had pretty clean start from everyone except for those 2 drivers at the back of the field. Marco, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. That was not the ideal start for Rob to Series, and also we see Ilbrink making another mistake. This opens the door for another move, this time from Urbino and Bill, the driver from MXS Racing. Ilbrink tries to stay in front, as of course you see towing back to the pits also is Augusto together with Rob Bohr, and Ilbrink from a very good strong first lap down now to P4. It's going to be a long way. You don't need to give these opportunities to Greg Olson, because he is more than capable of running away with it.
Yeah, and we see now as we see Christopher Herbino there, and he's on the back of Ilbrink now. Ilbrink just about managed to get away with that one there, but it was a very close call for him. He really cannot afford to be making those kind of mistakes. But looking at the back of the field, it looks like we've had a bit of a contact there between Jamie Byrne and Benjamin Sissoko there. They're both in the wall. Everything is happening at the start of this race. Let's see what happens here. Oh, and he's a bit of netcode, and he's tagged them, and they go into the wall. Not too much of a heavy contact there. James Byrne might have a bit of damage to his front wing, as we see Ronaldo Augusto here going slowly.
I try to get a replay of what just happened at the start. Oh, so Bohr went off on his own.
Yeah, so it looks like he's just lost it on the exit there, and Augusto has just collected him as they go into the wall there. Spectacular crash, but it was Rob Bohr just making a mistake there.
This was Paul Ilbrink making his mistake, running wide at Piratella, and gets a slowdown, opens the door for basically everyone else to go past him. And so lap 3 starting right now. Ilbrink still up to 4th. We have a great fight here between Pinsker and Baha.
A great fight indeed. James going down the inside, side by side as they're heading through the 2nd chicane, heading up into the 2nd chicane. And, welcome. I'm glad to be back. Computer just decided to blow up right there, but I'm back. Onboard Exposito, car lock up from Baja as they're heading into the hairpin and coming straight back out of it. Massive, crazy start. Was watching the replay of it, and just absolutely chaos in these opening laps. Hopefully these guys figure out that it's a race of attrition here at Imola more than attempting crazy passes.
You can see Pinsker here is just building a gap to Baja here. He's going to need to do that because coming up is a couple of corners before the start-finish straight, and that's one of the main overtaking opportunities here. He looks like he's going to be safe this time by.
Oh, he got a slid! That was Exposito getting onto the curb off of exit. He was looking for a great run because he was under pressure right there. Spun it into the grass, but has avoided contact with the wall.
That could have been a lot worse. He did well to keep it out of the wall there, but he is now down into 19th position. That's very unfortunate for him.
Joshua Stewart having a little bit of an off heading into the first chicane section. Evan Emery getting onto the curbs a little bit. It's very scary getting onto these curbs because the line kind of has you riding them, but once you touch the curbs of these cars, the car just leaves you out for dead.
Yeah, it really unsettles these cars here. This one not so bad, it's pretty flat, but some of the other ones like this corner coming up here, it's really treacherous to get on those curbs. Unsettles the car, massive wheel spin, and you're getting sent around.
Yeah, that corner is personally the most tricky corner of this circuit because it's a double right-hander, but for the first time, you don't really have to brake, but the second one, you have to brake very hard for that because it's such a sharp corner, and you can get it off track, actually, just by putting one wheel off the track down onto the inside right there.
Yeah, and you're braking under in the corner as well. It's very easy to lock up the rear brakes there, depending on your setup, and spin the car around there. I did that a couple of times when I was spinning a few laps earlier. Paul Ilbrink has a little bit of a look down the inside of Zamborski, but decides to better of it.
Yeah, Ilbrink not with the best starts. 4 spots down, no, 3 spots down from where he qualified. Very tricky start for him. But that's promoted Greg Olson to be up in the lead, as Augusto has let us know that he's just not been having the luckiest run. Three weeks in a row, very hard. Not a lot of top of this. Not a lot of the top drivers we had, but still a 4K iRating strength of field here. It just shows you on how hard Imola is in these 3.5 cars.
Yeah, these cars, they really don't like bumps. Imola's quite a bumpy track. These curbs, they're taking loads of them, especially at that chicane, running the full width of the track there to try and gain as much time as possible. But it's a very even field here. And we've got Benjamin Suzuku there. Looks like he's stuck. And we'll see what happened to him.
This car is sliding and he's spun around and ooh, into the wall. Back front with the battle for second, Keeman and Edward A. Samborski. Samborski went around the inside of Keeman on the straight, making a move up for P2. What a move for Edward A. Samborski to get up into second place. Here's that move right now. DRS activated, swinging on to the outside, then switching into the inside, and just flies past Keeman right there.
Yeah, there's no real defense for that DRS, and a better line out of the final corner must have made that such an easy move for Samborski there. But he's going to have to watch himself, because when they come back around the next lap, Keeman's going to have the same advantage.
Yeah, Keeman's definitely going to have the advantage, but remember, you only have eight uses of DRS. No cooldown between them, as I've learned. Thanks, James. But we'll see when these drivers use them as we ride on board with Keeman as he's looking back at the pole sitter of Paul Ilbrink.
Ilbrink's going to be having a look down the start-finish straight. Of course, we'll see how he does. Keeman's looking ahead at Zamborski. It looks like Zamborski's either got a better exit or is using DRS to try and pull a gap on him. But we're going to see Ilbrink now. Is he going to make a move? He goes to the outside now.
Here comes Ilbrink. Side by side they go. Who's going to be the last late breakers? Paul Ilbrink swings ahead of Keeman to snipe third place and begin his charge back up the podium.
Yeah, good move by Ilbrink. Again, same as the last lap, Keeman losing a place, probably with DRS down the main straight. There's not much you can do about that, and he's just going to have to bide his time, try and stay with Ilbrink, and see if he can get that move again.
That was
back.
not DRS assisted, by the way. That was just full-on draft. As we look at Jorge Lopez Exposito, who we saw spin out of the last corner a few laps ago, sitting down in 18th. He's got Shane Russell ahead of him. Russell in that 21 car. Just kind of stuck in the middle of this path. In this pack, he's got Huth, but Russell leading out the 17th train, and Exposito looking for any way to get past him. On board, James A. Pinks here on the back gearbox of Cedric Bill. They're heading into the final corner. Back to make a dive down the straight. DRS is being used by James. Here he comes, looking down the inside. That's a risky move. And James getting ahead of Cedric Bill and into P7 right there. What a move by James A. Pincer. He lined that move up for the entire lap.
Yeah, very risky move trying to go down the inside. If Cedric Bill had to move across just slightly towards his right-hand side, there's a high chance they would have made contact. Or Penske would have ended up into that inside barrier there, but good move. Cedric Bill had a little bit of a look down the inside, tried to use the draft to get back up ahead of him, but it wasn't to be.
It wasn't meant to be right there. So he's been seeing all the moves here. Only one of them has been made cleanly outside of the front straight, and that was at the hairpin with the inside dive.
So we take a look at your leader of this race, Greg Olson. He's built up a nice 1.5 second gap to Edwin Samborski.
Benjamin J. Suzuko is had an excursion off track, and I think there's an incident. What has happened to Benjamin J. Suzuko? Big ol' slide. Gone off track into the runoff area. That corner is so tricky right there. Been having a lot of spinning incidents today and big hit into the wall. And I believe he's retired from this race and gone into the pit lane. Back up front with Greg Olson, 1.5 seconds ahead of Everett A. Samborski, but Samborski just set a purple Sector 2. Last lap and this lap, Samborski, he is leading a charge right now and might be the one to start challenging Greg Olson.
He is taking down that lead that Greg Olson has built up. He is chasing him down for the lead. He's got about 15 laps to do it. It's plenty of time, and of course Greg Olson could make a mistake now. It's a lot of time, but we'll see how the rest of the race plays out at the front of the field.
Also, don't forget on who's on Samborski's tail, the pole sitter of this race. Paul Ilbrink is also there. So he can use Samborski's draft and not use DRS as Samborski activates DRS and starts chasing down Greg Olson.
Paul Ilbrink there setting the fastest lap of this race as well. A 1:29.09. He is flying around here today.
Definitely flying like an eagle through these chicanes and all these wonderful turns in the hills of Italy at Imola. Great circuit. Great circuit all in out. I'm not going to mention anything about the old layout or the new layout, but it is a great circuit. I love driving this track. Racing around the track, kind of different.
Yeah, racing around this track can be frustrating, especially in high downforce cars like these, where there are very few overtaking opportunities. As we've seen, the only overtakes we've seen have been down the start-finish straight, bar one at the hairpin. But as we see Edward Samborski, he's getting caught by Ilbrink. Now the gap only half a second. And you'll expect Ilbrink to try and make a move down into the first corner on this next lap.
Yeah, Ilbrink is on the gearbox of Samborski. Expect him to use DRS and fly down the inside and start chasing down Olson into the first chicanes. complex. No DRS being activated, though, from Paul Ilbrink. He's just going to let the draft take him there. But they are falling away slowly from Greg Olson still. We ride on board with Paul Ilbrink. Still in the draft, still on the gearbox, trying to study Samborski's moves and find the right spot to overtake. Both of them very, very wide exit, getting onto the AstroTurf right there.
Yeah, these drivers using all of the available track width despite the risk that it ensues. As you can see there, Samborski using so much of this width of this track all over the curbs. As we mentioned, the curbs are very bumpy here. Oh, as Paul Ilbrink has a bit of a moment there, nothing too major, but they have fallen back from Greg Olson.
Yeah, this battle is slowing both of them down, even if it's not really both of them battling each other, just trying to avoid mistakes. They have slowed up their pace and fallen down by 2 spots as we got a off-track car. That is Phil Reed, who went off in the chicane and he's dropped down to 7th place. He just big hit of the curb. Car got very upset right there. Locked up the brakes, and he just slid to a stop, and his Exposito, big ol' spin into the double right-hander.
Paul Ilbrink up into 2nd place. He's made that move on Edward Samborski and setting a new fastest lap of the race as he does it.
1:29.08 for Paul Ilbrink as he's back in 2nd place. 1.7 seconds separates him. And here's Exposito again. A big old slide landing into the runoff area. That's what we saw him do. So he's been having a very tough race. I thought it was one of the drivers that told us that he wasn't going to be here this race. Well, like you said, you might gain some points. So it will not hurt it trying.
Yeah, there is no penalty for not using drop weeks. You just don't lose points. But we see Nicholas Bradford there getting overtaken by Huth there. Pretty good move as Paul Ilbrink runs wide.
That's going to be a cutting the track penalty. He's going to have to slow down for that. As there goes Samborski swinging it down right there. Paul Ilbrink just murdering the exit of that chicane. Oh, he hit the curb and bounced out there. But it was full on flat out in that battle. And now Samborski is back up into 2nd. And Paul Ilbrink back into 3rd. He's going to try it again. He's on the gearbox. He's dancing. He's looking down the inside. Side by side they go. Heading into turn 1. And it's going to be Paul Ilbrink getting ahead of Samborski.
Yeah, Samborski, looks like he just let him go there. There's no point risking it this early in the race. We've just gone halfway through the race. There's no point in risking going side by side into turn 1. But yeah, Olsen leading this race now by 3 seconds. And that gap is increasing there. He is commanding this race.
Definitely is. We got a good old side-by-side battle right here between Russell and Bradford for 17th. They cross the start-finish line, headed into turn 1, and it's going to be Russell ahead of Bradford. What a move by Shane Russell. I believe these two are teammates. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's just using the DRS there down the straight. Again, as we've seen throughout this race, it's a major overtaking opportunity there. Pretty much the only one on this circuit. As Samborski now just over half a second behind Ilbrink. Ilbrink has built up a little bit of a gap, but we'll see he looks pretty safe from Samborski there. And we see Greg Olson absolutely miles ahead of Paul Ilbrink here.
Yeah, the only chances Ilbrink has is to just set fastest lap after fastest lap and hope Olsen makes a mistake. But we know Olsen as being one of the most consistent drivers in the series. He's not alien like Tim Delisle is, but he's still freaking fast.
Yeah, and he's very fast and usually very consistent, and that is what wins you races. You can be fast over a single lap, but if you make mistakes very consistently, then you're not going to be winning these races. As we've seen from Exposito, they're making a lot of mistakes. He was pretty quick in qualifying, but it wasn't to be in the race, making a few mistakes there.
Just hear the tire struggling for the grip through that second right-hander. That double right-hand turn is it's so hard to get dialed in, but Ilbrink does have a chance to catch into Olsen if he stays a cleaner race than Olsen as well. But also watch out for tire grip. As we say hello to Sam in the chat that says nice cameras. Yes, they are, Sam. Thank you. Marco, halfway through the race, what has your thought of this race been so far? Who's got the best advantage?
Well, you know, by judging by the times I'm seeing, I mean, I've seen all race long that Paul Hilbrink, when he has clean track and is not fighting with people, I think he's quicker overall than Greg Olson. Problem for Paul, of course, is mistakes. He had made two big ones, and both times he had to fight through the front of the field, Kieman, Samborski, etc., to get back to this. And I think that if he keeps it clean, there is a good chance for him to catch to Greg. He has got the fastest lap of the race in the last lap. This lap he's got the best sector 1 and 2, did Paul Hilbrink. So it's a big gap, still 2.4 seconds, but I think with around 9-8 laps to go, I think he still has a chance, but he has to be perfect, and he has been far from perfect today, Paul Hilbrink.
Yeah, Ilbrink, some small mistakes here and there. We saw with him getting that off-track penalty, but he is starting to close the gap on Olsen. It was 3 seconds, now it's 2.2 seconds. So expect a nail-biter at the finish if this stays course here at Imola. Well, no, that's all on me. Commentator's curse. Ilbrink goes off track on the exit. Didn't lose a lot of time right there, but that's definitely going to put some grass on the tires and make him lose some grip. But he is still closing in just barely on Olsen.
Yeah, a bit of a mistake by Paul Ilbrink, running a bit wide there and running onto the grass. It's not going to cost him too much, but it's not helped at all. You see the gap now, 2.2 seconds. He is closing, and he's setting very quick times. His last lap was a 1:28.9, which is the second fastest time we've seen all day.
Olsen's lap times are in the 1:29.20, which is just barely off of his fastest lap time of a 1:29.14. But Paul Ilbrink's setting the fastest lap times so far in the 1:28s.
As Paul Ilbrink there has made a huge mistake there, and he's lost a whole second in the last few corners there, and it's just as we've been saying, he's not consistent enough to catch Olsen. He gets close and he makes a mistake, and he loses all that time that he's just worked so hard to gain.
Oh, we got an off-track. Ooh, Christopher Herbernal going off right before the hairpin. What's happened right there? Because James J. Pacer is on his back end, and he's got a great run right now. And James, one of the biggest movers so far in this race. we've seen him being very fortunate on picking up positions on track and from just others' mistakes. Look back at the field. This is Nicholas Bradford. Heading into the hairpin. Ooh! Car got upset by the curbs and it just went around. It's a real gamble, honestly, when you get onto those curves. Here's John McHutcheon on the back of Emery, looking for that top 10 side by side, heading into this double left-hander. McHutcheon gets it, and I think he almost got tapped. Did he get tapped?
He uses DRS now as well to try and stop Imre from getting that position straight back. And it was very successful for him. So we ride on board now with Evan Imre. But yeah, Austin, as you were saying with these curbs, you can see the guys at the top of the field really hammering them. And it is a gamble. You can lose so much time just by making a bit of a mistake on them. It's so easy to lose the back end. As Paul Ilbrink again losing a second on Greg Olsen. And it's really not his race today. He seems to be very quick, but just very inconsistent. And now the gap is 4 seconds. As Imre comes around this double right-hander. He runs wide.
Cooked it a little bit too much. And he's got Steven Chatnell on his back end. Ooh, Steven Chatnell. Big. Almost tried to dive it in right there. But he just overcooked the brakes and locked him up and almost came into the back and caused a massive incident. But thankfully, that was avoided.
Evan Imre there would shortly be looking in his mirrors. Code Brown moment there as you see a car locking its brakes, barreling towards you at an alarming rate.
Looking at the battle for 5th. Hermano, Pacer, Reed. As they go through this hairpin. And ooh, big old slide from Reed. So that three-way battle for 5th has now become a two-way battle between Hermano and Pacer. With just 6 laps remaining here at Imola. Oh, Reed's off again. Gone wide off the chicane. That's going to be a slowdown penalty.
Luckily for him, there's quite a bit of a gap behind him, so it's not going to cost many positions. But it would obviously be nice for him to be on the back of Pinsker and Herbano here. As Pinsker looks like he's just too far away to catch on Herbano. Herbano using DRS there to try and help maintain his gap over Pinsker.
Yeah, Pinsker not using DRS as Herbano is very smart move by Herbano.
It's an interesting use of DRS, obviously. Unlike in Formula 1, there's no 1 second rule here. With the DRS, they can use it as and when they please 8 times in a race. And it's an interesting use there, using it for defense rather than for move for position.
It definitely is a interesting strategy, but he's been saving that DRS for most of this race. And if you have 8 chances to use it going up into the final 8 laps, definitely use it. And it honestly is a good strategy. Use it at the start of the race, and then the last few laps just use it on your own as either for defense or offense. And he's using that to his advantage. We saw James being more aggressive with it at the start, so definitely some drivers with differing strategies with DRS and setup.
So we see Greg Olsen now, and we can see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens there, that nice lovely graphic there, showing us that Elbrink has been losing time for the last 5 or 6 laps there. Every single lap he's been losing time. It seems he's making small mistakes every single lap, and the gap is up to 4 seconds from just 2.5 as it was 5 laps ago.
Christopher Herbert out. Starting to try to pull away from James, but here comes James. He's closing in on Christopher Herberno. Six tenths separate them. James has been closing in. Half a second separates them now. So we ride on board with James J. Pincer trying to get into the top 5 right there. He just broke into the top 18 in the standings. Wasn't there last week. He's in there this week, and he's trying to improve even more after a very rough start to the season. Wants to end it on a high note. Just getting hopping over these curves. Herberno goes a little bit wide, so does Pincer. Pincer, though, better exit than Herberno. As Greg Olson crosses the start-finish line. 3 laps to go here at Imola. They go down the front straight. No DRS for Herberno. James, though, looks like he is using DRS because look at the speed he's closing down. He's in the draft right now, almost getting into the back of him, side by side, heading into the first chicane. Who's going to be last late breakers? Oh, they touch! Herberno's to touch the back wheel! No, mamma mia, no! Big incident right there. Herberno touched the back right wheel into the braking zone, and oh, that's very unfortunate for James Pincer. Oh, he's got to be furious after that.
It's a very unfortunate thing there. It looks like Herberno just running slightly wide into turn 1, and that's just caused him to touch into James Pinsker. Very unfortunate incident there, as we see Thomas Knoll looking down the inside of...
Oh, Sam Borsi's got it. Sam Borsi's off. Sam Borsi's off of the chicane. And getting into fourth. Oh, Keeman's off as well! Here comes Herberno. Herberno's going to have a clean track ahead of him to try to snipe into 4th place, and James Pincer gets into 5th place. Sam Borsi's got back running, but didn't get into the wall. Oh, it's a mess here with 2 laps to go. All craziness is breaking loose. Phil Reed is on the back of Keeman. So racing down the front straight.
Is he going to go for a move into turn 1? No, he's not. He's just too far behind here, but the gap is just 0.3 of a second as they come through Tamburello now. 2 laps to go for your leaders. As Paul Elbrink has closed down that gap to just 2.5 seconds.
But can he close it down to get onto the gearbox of Greg Olson with just almost 1 lap to go? 1.5 laps to go. He's got 2 more corners until it is officially 1 lap to go, and I'll let Marco actually say it this time since we are in Italy. As Thomas Knoll getting pushed out wide as Steven Chadnell swings it up the inside. What a smooth move by Chadnell as we are white flag.
Sale la Blanca here in Imola.
1 lap to go. As Olsen leading out Ilbrink. 2 seconds separate them. Ilbrink closing down on Olsen. The bettors in the chat put Paul Ilbrink at plus 400 to 1 odds that he will win this. So this is a definite climb up the mountain to start closing down the gap to Olsen, but 1.7 seconds separates them now.
Elbrink closing down the gap massively here with just 1.6 seconds now. As further down the field, Stephen Chantal on Thomas Knoll. Thomas Knoll makes a move on Stephen Chantal there into turn number 1. And we see Reed all over the back of Ian Keeman here as they come down to this tricky double right-hander. Reed goes a bit wide.
1.3 seconds heading into the final corner. Olsen punches it onto the gas as it's a race down the front straight and taking the win here at Imola. It's Greg Olsen. Oh, we got to race it down there for 6. Reed and Keeman battle into the braking zone. Reed, though, getting a he got the outside line, didn't get the best exit, though. And now they're having a little bit of drag race coming down the front straight. DRS is being activated for both of them. It's a drag race for 6, and it's going to be Keeman by a nose.
Very close finish between them there. As we see Stephen Chantal just making a mistake there. If he didn't do that, he might have had a run on Thomas Knoll there. But Thomas Knoll will finish in 12th position. And we see Exposito here on the back of Russell. Just 0.4 of a second. We'll see who has DRS.
Oh,
Russell
weaving
weaving.
in front of him. Exposito is not going to like that right there. As
Massive wreck.
Big
Someone
crash. We
doing
got a
donut.
car spun right before the line or right after the line. Who was Oh, Steven Shatnell, who spun his car right at the end. And he just kept his wheel punched into it, doing donuts. Yeah, I finished, but unfortunately caused a massive crash after that. It was a bizarre ending to this race after the race.
Russell won't be happy with that. He's gonna lose some safety rating. But weaving there towards the line. I'm not sure if he was trying to block Exposito or if he was celebrating.
Yes, no,
Oh,
trying to break the draft, but that is very unfortunate. If one of these drivers are going to protest that, Nim is going to have a field day. But it's Greg Olsen taking the victory here at Imola in a very, very stellar finish. As here are your results. Greg Olsen takes the win above Paul Ilbrink, with Everett A. Samborski completing the podium, followed by Christopher Herberto, James A. Peenster, I am Keeman, Phil Reed, Cedric Bill, Omar Baha, John McCutcheon, and Evan R.T. Emery, Thomas Knowles, Stephen Chatnell, Joshua Stewart, James Mello, Shane Russell, Jorge Exposito, Carson Huth in 18th. He's followed by Nicholas Bradford, Jamie Byrne, Benjamin J. Suzuko, Dan Yang, Rob Bohr, and Renard Augusto at the end, who had that very unfortunate start. Those last 3.
yeah, Bohr and Augusto coming together there. Almost a dream start from Bohr, and then all down, and he's in tears.
As we do have some drivers waiting for us in the interview room. Let's get one-on-one with the race winner. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the booth, Greg Olsen. Greg, do you have a
Hello.
copy?
Sorry, found my mic. Sorry about that. Yes, hello.
How you doing, Greg?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm really happy to finally get a win on the board. It couldn't have gone any better than.
Yeah, you had a few heart-to-mouth moments. I started from the second row, but after that first lap, you were up there in the lead and didn't really take a look back. You had a few challenges from Samborski and Ilbrink that got very close to you, but unfortunately, they've had a few incidents. Were you prepared to defend P1, or were you just thinking of it as the fly then and just looking at your relative from time to time?
Yeah, the start went really good. Got a great start, and I was very lucky that Paul made his mistake because I don't know how I would have gone in traffic, but being out in front just by yourself, I was able to build a really good rhythm, and not really. I wasn't. I was looking at the relative a lot, and I didn't think that I had the pace to beat Ed or Paul. But so the main thing was just focusing on not making mistakes because it's so easy to make mistakes. I've crashed so many times this week in practice. I was not confident at all. So yeah, seeing that they had incidents, I have to go back and look. But yeah, I'm really happy to take the win.
Well, it's another win for you, and I bet this one was probably a very sweet one since Imola, and you said it's a very hard track, and you've been off track a lot. Trust me, I've been there as well.
Yeah, no, it's a really good. Well, I mean, it's my only win this season. I haven't won that many races, and I don't
I
think I've ever
swear,
won.
I thought you had another win, but I guess I
No, not on the broadcast. I've won one
uh
race off broadcast, but no, I'm really happy to take the win. It's a really great track, Imola, as well. I mean, it's really tough, but it's also just a brilliant track, and it was really fun just getting into the rhythm and just nailing it today. There were a few heart and mouth moments, but generally speaking, I was really happy with the way I drove today. I've made a few, like I've thrown away a few really good results this season, and it was great to just finally get a good one.
well, glad you finally got a great win before the final race at Imola. What are your plans for that race?
Interlagos, I have
Oh, I
no
mean
idea.
Interlagos. Jeez.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I just
I'm not
looked at the
sure.
track map of Imola. It said Imola as I meant Interlagos.
Yeah, Imola's on the mind, but Interlagos is another track that I'm not terribly strong at. I know Tim's been taking the time this week to really prepare for it because I think he likes it. So I don't know. I'll just take it. Well, I mean, I take it one race at a time. There's only one race left, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I'll just enjoy this win in the meantime.
All right. Well, I'll let you go celebrate before we let you go, who do you want to shout out?
Yeah, I just like to thank Positive Sim Racing and all my teammates and all their support, and our main partner, Universidad Isabel Primera, um, and the Renault 3.5 community in general, all really good guys. I really enjoy racing with them. Um, my long suffering wife, I'll give her a shout out to Chow for putting up with this pretend race car driver caper, and she'll be just as happy with this result as maybe more than I am. So yeah, lots of love to her.
All
And
right.
you guys, of course, for the broadcast. Sorry.
Thank you so much. You have a good old day.
Thank you very much. You too, guys.
And now we throw it over to Dane, who has Paul Ilbrink.
Yeah, so Paul Elbrink now in the commentary booth. Welcome along. Just give us your thoughts on a pretty tough race.
Yeah, disappointing from my side, I guess. I was like lucky to get the pole because it was really close with Rob, and uh, when I got away in first, I was like on the first lap, I was like thinking half a lap ahead really that I wanted to have like a big enough gap so Greg wouldn't draft me into on the long straight at start finish. So I was like pushing a bit too hard, I guess. And while doing so, I clipped the grass when entering what's the corner called, Piratella, and I like had a massive lockup of the brakes, and I suffered from that like the next bunch of corners till the end of the lap really, and I lost so much positions with that. That after that I just had to fight back, and yeah, it was okay and fun to overtake a couple cars again. But then once I got in second again, like Greg was so consistent and not making any mistakes. So I was like overdriving it a bit myself to try and catch up. But yeah, made a couple mistakes after that and never really could get there in the end, I guess.
Yeah, we did see you making those couple of overtakes there. The start wasn't the best for you. You got away pretty well, but then, of course, those mistakes and slow down penalties meant that you dropped back into fourth. When you got into second, you gained pretty close to Greg, and then you started making quite a few mistakes as we got to the end of the race. Still a pretty close finish, though. And how are you looking forward to the final round of the season at Interlagos?
Well, Interlagos is a fun track. I don't know how it is exactly with these cars, but should be okay. And it doesn't have that many like dangerous spots and tricky spots like this track. So I hope to have a nice race there and have a nice end to the season.
Yeah, you mentioned this track is very tricky, especially the curbs, and we saw all of you guys at the front really hammering them. Austin and I both did some practice earlier in the day, and we couldn't get near them. As soon as we touched the curbs, we would spin out. So, what are the risks when you try and what are you thinking when you say, "Am I going to go for the curb or am I not?"
Well, like all around the track, it's like fine most of the time, but it's just like the Variante Alta, which is like so tricky. Like if you want to take it really quick, you need to take a bit of curb, and yeah, I don't know. You have to be like so consistent in your line, etc., to not get the car to like totally overreact and throw itself into a spin. So it's a really fine balance, and I'm surprised how well it went at the front of us with me, Edward, and Greg by not making nearly as many mistakes as I would have expected. But yeah, it's just finding the balance really, but between taking risk and being safe.
Thank you for your thoughts, Paul. Before we head to the next person, anyone you want to shout out?
Sure. I want to thank all my teammates at Radicals Online and our partners and sponsors, Cranfield Simulation, Joe Real Timing, Arma Center, Asta Sim Race, MoTev Podcast, Turn Racing, Sim Mortal, Six Sideways, and Pixel Dust.
All right, thank you very much. As we go back to Austin now.
Yes, we are back, and then I have our third place driver. I have our third place driver with us, Mr. Edward Samborski. How you doing, man?
Whew, that was wild. That's a tough track. I'll
Yeah,
take it though.
we were discussing on how tough this track is and how hard overtaking is. And you were sitting up there at a second, and you were actually closing in on Greg Olson, and it was looking like you were going for the win, but unfortunately, you had a few off track. You had a few off track incidents, and just fell down to third place. But hey, you finished on the podium, and you're going to be enjoying some of that bubbly.
I absolutely agree. I'll take it. I was pushing hard, and then I realized I was just gonna crash the car. So I toned it down, and I was just Paul had the pace on me, and I was like, you know what? I just gotta accept P3. It's better than pit lane. Champagne better than pit lane.
Yeah, champagne is always the way to go. And hey, another podium to add to your resume before the very final race of the season at Interlagos. What are your plans for that race?
To get faster. Last season, I struggled really quite a lot, so I'm gonna practice a lot during the week, see if I can maybe find something in the setup of the car and do the best I can. That's all I can offer, right?
Well, I hope the best for you in Interlagos, and you've been doing a lot of improvement throughout the season, so it's always fantastic to see you constantly improving each week after week, especially with that win that you got. So, yeah, before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
Um, I'll thank you guys for doing the broadcast, iRacing, and I guess that'll do it for this week.
All right, thank you, thank you, Ed. You have a good old day.
Thank you. You too.
And next up, we have James Pinks here because I really wanted to talk to him. Howdy, 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 James. How you doing?
Hello, Austin. I am doing. I'm a bit miffed, to be honest. That was a kind of frustrating race.
Yeah, especially at the end, you were in a close battle, and unfortunately, your back left wheel was tapped into the braking zone, and you just went around for position. Did you have some few words to say to the driver, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really frustrating. When I feel like I've been sitting behind, I've been slowly closing the gap. I've saved some DRS at this point. Chris hasn't, and then I'm going for a move, and I do a really nice move. Clean as you like, left him about 4 car widths on the inside, and he locks up into me. I understand that's a mistake, but I then sat behind him at about 7 tenths for the rest of the race, and he didn't let me through when he could have easily let me through. So that's the frustrating bit. I'm not happy with his attitude and not letting me through, but I don't know. This is the first time I've raced with Chris, so I'm not massively angry at the guy, but I'm frustrated that that's cost me a place. But overall it was a fun race, so I don't really mind.
Yeah, top five. Nothing goes wrong with top five. Also, at the start of this race, you did break into the top 18 in the points. With one race to go left at Interlagos, how you feeling?
Did I actually? Wow. Considering I haven't been driving that much this season, I guess. Yeah, that's cool. Interlagos is, or at least last season, Interlagos was my best track, so I'm really excited for that. Not sure how good I'll be there this season, but yeah, sounds like fun.
All right, thank you, James. Before we let you go, anyone want to shout out?
Not really. Well, follow Team Tepper on Twitter. Yeah, at Team Tepper. Do that. No, that's about it.
All right, thank you, James. Also, I'm still kind of mad at you for telling me that there's a day cooldown of the DRS.
There is. I never said that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Thank you, James.
Nah, this is bullying.
All right, let's go over to Dane as he has some ending comments.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good race. We saw quite a lot of overtaking, contrary to what I thought. Pretty good battles throughout the field. Unfortunate races for some drivers, just not getting the hang of the car at this incredibly difficult track. And I'm looking forward to the closing round at Interlagos. It should be a good one to watch.
Yeah, next week here on the iRacing Esports Network, the final round of the iRacing Formula 3.5 series is going to be held at Interlagos. Join us here for the same awesome racing as always. I've been joined by Dane Baird in the commentary box and Marco Barbonera, who is in the commentary box and in the broadcast booth at the exact same time. Dang multitasker over here. I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.